Hello, magical experimenters, and welcome to this latest video. And my head's all like kind of chrome domey because of the light, but unfortunately, it's just kind of the thing of things. So I'm in the midst of door dashing today, but I thought I would take a little break and talk a bit about the Saturn work that I've been doing and how it's affecting the elements, the elemental work I've been doing with connection and truth, and where boundaries fit into that. Now, if you're new to this channel, go ahead and click subscribe and then hit the notification bell, and feel free to like and comment and all that other fun stuff. So I'm going to give you I'm going to set the stage here first of all. So I am doing work with the elements of connection and truth. And I've been doing work with it since October. Needless to say, it's been a very interesting year so far. You know, and really when we think about it, I mean, for me, this is really about discovering my connection and truth. I'm going to be working with these elemental energies until October of 2023, or no, 2022. Yeah, 2022. So it'll be interesting to see where things go over the next year and change. Now, one of the ways that I'm working with this is I'm kind of working up the Kabbalistic tree of life, and I'm working with the energy of Bina and the planetary energy of Saturn. Now, I've been doing a lot of Saturn work anyway. I mean, I started doing Saturn work actually last month in July, early July. And the way my elemental balancing work works is my months are a little different. It starts on the 21st of the month, and then it ends on the 20th of the next month. Why is that, you might ask? Well, because my birthday is October 21st. So there you go. I like to start my elemental years on my birthday. So, connection and truth. I mean, for me, it's really been about discovering what my truth is and living it, and at the same time discovering what it means to really connect and living that. I would say that, you know, I have been doing a lot more connecting this year. I've kind of and a lot of discovery around my truth, and you know, it's come at a high price. I would say to anyone who like wants to approach the magical work that I do the way that I do it, or even something similar, like, you know, the way that I work things is that I work, you know, with the elemental energies, I work it through me, you know, like I'm doing this work every single day. It's pretty intense. It's something that I would say it's not for the faint-hearted. It can bring a lot of changes into your life. You know, a lot of times when people think of magic, they think about magic in terms of, you know, like I want to do magic to get practical results or whatever else. But a lot of magical work is really just as much about you being shaped by what you're working as it is about you shaping things. And I would argue, too, that anytime you do a magical working, even for a practical result, you better be prepared for things to get weird, because that's the way magic works. It doesn't work entirely on causality. So anyway. So the Saturn energy is definitely intersecting with me right now, and you know, this has really been it's really been an interesting month so far around this. One of the things that I've had come up is that I was talking to my mom the other day. I was driving somewhere on business, and we were talking on the phone, and one thing she said to me, she said, "You know, honey, I think it's great that you share a lot of stuff, but I think sometimes you overshare. You're too open." And she's like, "You're such a tender person, and you are such a vulnerable person in some ways because of how you share things." And she's like, "I get why you do it. I mean, part of it's because it's your way of authentically connecting with people." And it is. I mean, it is a very raw experience in some ways. Like, you guys get to learn a lot about me and the work that I'm doing. And I will say, in all fairness, that not all my videos are like this. Honestly, this has been more the last few months because my life has just kind of turned upside down, and I've been very I've used this as a way to process stuff. Whether that's appropriate or not, I don't know. I mean, I guess some people would say it isn't. Um, and in some cases, and I would agree that sometimes it hasn't necessarily always been appropriate. I see that. You know, and I think that's where the boundary aspect comes into play, because I mean, there are aspects of my life I don't necessarily share on here or in my writing. I share a lot. I mean, I am very much an open book in a lot of ways. But there are some things I keep to myself. Some of that's just stuff that's just for me. There's some secrets no one will ever know, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And then there are things that I keep to myself because it's part of the nature of the work that I do. I mean, I've hinted at things, but I haven't necessarily shared it all. And then there are some things that you just keep for yourself, because it's important to you, and it's something that's special to you or what have you. And I mean, those things could be anything, really. For me, I think it's I've been really recognizing and realizing that my mom has a point. Sometimes you can overshare. You can share too much. And that's not a good thing. It can have a blowback effect on you, because then like you're just out there and exposed to the world with your ass cheeks in the wind. Yeah. So what I'm realizing is that I'm going to give myself a bit of an allowance here on this. Last few months of my life have been crazy. A lot of the videos have been more personal than maybe they normally would be. But I'm realizing, and I'm kind of putting a boundary into place, that I need to start dialing that back some, and really focus more on the magical work. I mean, that's why you guys are here. You're not here to hear about my life and my latest tragedies or whatnot. I mean, not that I'm going to stop being authentic with you, because that is an important aspect of truth and connection, and I want that. But at the same time, I think what the Saturn work is really teaching me is, like, know what your limits and boundaries are. Know what is good for you to share about your truth and your connection, and also what is good to keep for yourself. Know how to protect yourself. And I mean, when I really think about it, last year, this month, a lot of things went down in my life. I'm not going to get into the whole story of it. I don't really need to. I'm so freaking tired of rehashing that story. And I have spent so much time with that particular story. I don't want to anymore. But when I think about one of the reasons why that story happened, it's the realization that in some ways, I left myself vulnerable and open for what happened. And had I shown some more discretion, been more careful, it probably wouldn't have happened. And I don't know. I mean, that may or may not be a good or bad thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really much matter. And I will say that there is an advantage to me sharing the way that I have in the past, and it's that I do draw people to me. I draw, and there are times I've had people say to me, like, I really needed what you shared. It really helped me. And that's important to me, because I definitely feel like why I am here and why I do this work is to be of service to my community and to the people that are part of my community. But I think that at the same time, when I observe other people that I know who are authors or other stuff, they definitely have a good boundary around what they share and what they don't share. And they have parts of their lives where they're like, thou shall not pass. And that's a good thing. And I haven't always been good about that. I mean, I've kind of just been super open. And it's not, it's one of those cases where when you recognize that about yourself, I mean, it can be a strength, but it can also be a weakness at the same time. And so when I was talking with my mom about this, and she's saying, like, I think that you sometimes overshare too much, that you share too much. At first I was kind of resistant to it because, okay, it's mom. Mom's telling me what to do. And of course, I don't care how old you are. Like, once you reach a certain point, there's always that party that's like, when your parent gives you advice and you don't want to hear it, you push back against it. Because you're like, okay, mom, okay, dad, like, let's just back off. But I've been thinking about it a lot in the last couple days, and I mean, she's got a point, And I've been thinking about it in relationship to the Saturn work, because Saturn work is about boundaries and limitations. Now, my Saturn work, as I said, it's been really intense. I mean, I've had work where I have, where I kind of got taken to a peek behind the curtains, and I got to see all these different possibilities I could explore. And I feel like that's kind of still going on. It's starting to come to a close. Like, I have some things that have definitely manifested, and some other things that may or may not manifest, depending on what I decide to do. But I feel like, at the same time, like, it's really good. I'm also paying attention this month to the lessons of Saturn in another way. And, like, one of the lessons from Saturn has been like, as what you reap what you sow. So, sow carefully. What is it you're sowing into the fields of your mind, into the fields of your heart, into the fields of your soul, into the fields of your body? What is it you're doing to take care of yourself? Because what you sow is what you reap, so, like, you have to be careful, because what you choose to bring into yourself and into your life has an effect on that. And that's an important thing to recognize. So that's something I've been thinking about lately, because I had this dream with Saturn, with Cronus, where we were walking a field, and I was planting these seeds, and these seeds were going into my life. And I think, like, well, what am I sowing into my life? What am I bringing into my life? What am I manifesting? Saturn is about that. People might not think of it that way, but it is. And so you want to be careful about that. Like, what is it you are choosing to bring into your life? And so, I think about that from the perspective of boundaries. Well, what is it I'm allowing in my life? And how is that defining my life as a result? Those are things to be thinking about. And this is true, like, anytime with your magical work, this is true. But I think especially when you're working with a planetary influence like Saturn, you really want to be thinking about it, because it is teaching you a lesson. So I've been thinking along those lines. Like, what am I sowing into my life? What am I reaping? Is that what I really want? Is that good for me? Is it healthy for me? These are things to be thinking about. The other thing I've been thinking about in relationship to all of this too is, like, again, how do I set up healthy boundaries for myself? How do I, for example, share something that I think is important for people to see, and in a way where, yes, I'm perhaps using a lesson from my life. I do think it's important to be open and transparent in that way. And as somebody who's very open about his own fallibilities, his mistakes, and his errors, as much as his successes and triumphs, I think it has worked for me in a lot of ways, because then, you let people, you show people they're not alone, and that they can relate to you. And a lot of times, people need to hear that. So how do you do that? And, I think about that in relationship to the Saturn work, because I'm really thinking, like, where do I want to go with my life? I mean, I'm very much in this process of rebirth, which I've been talking about in the death and rebirth videos I did the last couple ones. I'm very much in the process of rebirth right now. My life is starting anew. I've gotten to a place where things are relatively stable. I'm happier and more hopeful than I've been in a while. I'm feeling more productive and creative. So these are good things. Go Taylor. I'm on the right track. We like it when Taylor's on the right track. He certainly hasn't been on the right track for a while. So I think about that, and in relationship to this concept of sowing and reaping. And I think for me, really what it boils down to is that one, I want this channel and the content that I'm putting out there to focus more on the magical work. You know, that's why you guys are really here. You want to hear about the magical work that I'm doing, and I'm very much sharing that right now. I mean, this is actually a great example of magical work and how the magical work is unfolding into my life and what it's helping me think about and do and change within myself. So that's really freaking important. And I'm going to keep doing that. But I also just kind of, I'm tired in a lot of ways. I'm realizing that. I mean, the last week, it's just really hit me. Like, this has been one of the hardest periods of my life, and I'm tired. I just want to rest for a while. I think that once I figure out the last piece of this puzzle, which is where I'm going to live, and getting settled into that place, I'm going to rest for a while. I mean, I'm going to start creating classes and things like that again, but I'm going to let myself also just rest and rejuvenate and recover. And that's a boundary right there too. Like, do you know when to stop? Do you know what enough looks like? I've talked about this before. Like, what does enough look like? And I think really that I'm gonna apply that concept of enough to what I share. Like, what does enough look like? What is the difference between sharing enough and oversharing? What does that mean? How do I be authentic with you guys and let you in and show you something really cool and amazing or whatever, but at the same time not venture into personal territory that really is nobody's business but mine. And granted, I mean, sometimes I have shared personal stuff. Like, I've shared stuff that's happened to me and I've shared it as an illustrative lesson, and I think there is value in that, and I'm going to continue to do that. But where are the boundaries around that? What becomes a good way to really take care of yourself and be mindful of yourself so that you actually are protecting your creativity and you're protecting your passion and your intensity and everything else? I mean, that's the thing that I care about. I want to be able to give my all to the work that I do. But how do I do that in a way where I'm mindful of these things? And these are the things that Saturn has really been, this Saturnic work has been making me think about. Because at the end of the day, I want to give you guys my best effort. I want to give you something that's relevant for you, as opposed to, well, here's Taylor's latest drama. And really, I don't know, there's some people who will disagree with this, but really I'm not really a drama laden person. I have been at times in my life. I mean, I've sometimes stirred the pot. But really, I do prefer for my life to be quieter than it has been. And for a while there, it was pretty quiet. Other than like the one thing I can think of is like the occult convention controversy, when I like called out the occult convention stuff, like on certain things I didn't like. I stirred up some drama there. That actually taught me, like, well, like, what are the consequences? Like, do you really want to be doing that? And so I've tried to be more measured in things. So this is work I'm going to continue to do the rest of this month. Through up to the 21st or the 20th, and then I'm going to switch over to Neptune, and that'll be an interesting month because Neptune is all about riding the current. When you work with Neptune, it is all about the flow, and whether you fight it or go with it. But right now in my life, I've got to find what is. I want to use this time that I have to find that stability again. And I'm getting there. I'm happier and more hopeful. I'm more focused. But I got a ways to go. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, living life, that is just the truth of it. You always have a ways to go, but I'm ready for it. And that's what Saturn's been teaching me. It's kind of been like, well, know when to rein back, know when to put some boundaries on things, know when to apply limits to what you're doing. Yes, you can be passionate and intense. Yes, you can do some amazing things and share it with the world. But yes, also know when to rein back, know when to focus, know when to really hone in on what is important to you in terms of what you want to manifest, and really consider that carefully. All right, so that's my video, and hope you guys found it interesting. Thanks.